is just fantastic. Captain's Log, Subdates 211015.4. I am a good boss, and to prove this, I made crewman Bork coffee for a 12-hour shift with no breaks. I also put Pentalax in it, so that the rest of my crew got a good show out of his suffering. Welcome everyone to This Week at Twitter, or Twat. Today we're going to start with how Twitter can actually be a useful platform. Yeah, I know it sounds a tad strange, but from time to time it actually does happen, especially when you have suffered a consequence on another platform and need to speak to the relevant parties because you suddenly have an epiphany and realize there is a possibility that you can resolve the issue you have by reaching out directly to the person that may well be able to make a change for you. So for this we have two instances. We have myself and Sexual Tipster, where I received a copyright claim or content ID thing that basically means any money the video makes from now on goes to someone else, from LDS Affiliate US on a video where I defended Social Repose over the constant arguments of cultural appropriation for his headdress, which he has since gone on to change in a very lengthy video which I myself covered. So I reached out to Social Repose via Twitter first of all to confirm whether that is the network he is connected to, which he confirmed and said, if you DM me the video, I will get them to remove it. Now I didn't want to be a hassle, it would just be easier for me to crop the video. It's 3 months old, people aren't going to go back and watch it that much. So I let it be. But Social Repose actually reached out to me, so I sent him the link, and huzzah! The video was released after I cropped it. You bastards. The second concerned Sexual Tipster. Now he also is hit with Content ID, a similar problem, so he also tweeted at the relevant party, and they themselves replied. They even made it clear that in a recent tweet that their YouTube network didn't turn off Content ID for their content when they signed with them. Thankfully, much like with me, huzzah! Sexual Tipster! His video was released. Yay! I know it's a rarity in current year for things like this to happen, but it is a nice treat to see the system be used, let's say it was properly, it has Content ID for a reason, but then to find a resolution that does in fact benefit all parties and show a level of decency and integrity from both Luna and Social Repose, both of whom I'm going to link down below in the pinned comment with all the sources for today's video. Also, Social Repose's TikTok is hilarious. Go check it out. So to move on from that, we're going to go to an interaction concerning somebody I once covered on this channel called Ranting Feminist, who has been accused of being ableist. Why? Well, let me tell you why. In a tweet to somebody who I can't pronounce. She doesn't have a fetish, she is Asian and her husband is white. Actually, read the article maybe. This was her reflecting on her past internalized racism and wishing there was representation like with K-drama in more Western media. Maybe read articles before you quote tweet. To which the person in question says, "Ma'am, I cannot make this any clearer, I will never read the article." To which Ranting Feminist replies, "Honestly, no one should ever bother listening to your takes on anything. This is the kind of intellectual laziness that breeds misinformation and stupidity. Okay, be proud of your ignorance and intellectual laziness." To which Crab Kelsey, she might have, "Did you ever stop to consider that maybe Andrew has a condition that makes it hard for him to read long articles? Think before you speak." To which Claudia points out, if he can't read it, then why is he telling us his opinion on it? I'm sorry, but I don't buy it. If I can't read something, why would I comment on it? No, he's being lazy. If you can't read it, you can at least skim it or have your computer read it to you. He just doesn't care. Crab Kelsey, the ableism on display here. Ranting Feminist. So it's ableist to think you should read beyond the headline, or you shouldn't comment on things you haven't read? I'm sorry, but what? There are blind people who listen to audiobooks. They can comment on those books because they know what's in them. Crab Kelsey. Andrew's low IQ does not preclude him from participating in the conversation. Maybe you can find a website where people like him aren't allowed. The level of stupid is hard to quantify in this thread. Ranting Feminist, or Claudia Brown, is 100% correct. You cannot judge something by a title. You cannot judge something without trying it. It's like my nieces with foods. They look at it and go, eh. I'm like, don't knock it until you try it. You can't judge something without tasting it. Much like you cannot judge a person until you've spoken to them, learnt about them. The same principles apply here. And you have enough context from this thread alone without any more additional context to know what the level of the person we're dealing with is and just how stupid they are. So what we need to move on is a palate cleanser. From Boo Gee2988. You have to eliminate 1. Marvel, DC, Star Wars, choose wisely. The answer for me is pretty obvious, because 2 of those products are owned by Disney, so if you want an even balance, you should keep DC and get rid of Star Wars because I like Captain America and Iron Fist Gambit more than I like anything from those space cowboys, and no, Baby Yoda does not count. At all. Sorry. I prefer Yoda, and he's been misused enough. Jax. Believe fat people. I do. I believe fat people need to lose some weight, might lose some entitlement along with it, which is a retweet from somebody else. They're trying to make fat ally into a thing now. Lol lamau. Image, 6 ways to be a fat ally, and this is derived from a TikTok, and it's possible based on what we're reading, it might well be a troll. 1. Treat fat people with respect and dignity. Short answer, no. Never expect nor demand respect. Simple. 2. Call out fat phobia when you hear it and see it. I will only call it out if someone literally walks up to another person and says, I'm afraid you're going to fall on top of me. 3. Seek out fat stories from fat people. Why? Your individual experience means literal dick to me. 4. Believe fat people. When they say what exactly? When they tell you their caloric intake and they say it was only 2,000. 5. Ask restaurants, bars, special events, venues, etc. to provide size-inclusive seating options. When I go to venues, they're all standing. It's called a gig. If you need assistance, get yourself a wheelchair and go to the disability section. And 6. Take fat friends and family to fat accessible spaces. No, I don't drive. What do you want to do, give them a piggyback? Perhaps give them a ride on my skateboard? They can ride side saddle on one of my trucks. For that to make sense, you have to know what a skateboard is and all the components on it, and not think of the thing I use when I'm playing Euro Truck Simulator. 2. The next 3 we're going to cover come from wrestling and combat sports. We're going to start with one that bugs me. Over the years, I've always been a very good fan, big fan, passionate fan of pro wrestling. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. Anxiety, depression and bullying really helped. Of course, we can't blame all of that, it's entirely my fault. But I'd like to believe they played a factor in my inability to get beyond it. To me, there's always been a certain magic when it came to pro wrestling. I loved watching it, but when it came to the biggest product, WWF and then WWE, it was always the same thing. Big muscly man, top dog. We had it with Hogan, we had it with Hogan, we had it with Hogan, we had it. Eventually, once you got past Triple H's nonsense, although you can include him as well because of all the working out he did, Cena, and now we have it with Reigns. Fantastic. Because you're force-fed us someone for so long, people actually cheer them because you managed to get something right with them. But all those years you had him as a babyface, am I right? Suffering succotash, you morons. Some of the things that really take the magic out of wrestling for me is when you've taken someone who has clear talent, someone who has a character that really stands out, is unique, and just shat all over them. The more recent one that really turned me off pro wrestling was The Fiend. For me, he was a fantastic replacement for Kane, and I really enjoyed that. Then again, they did the same thing to Bray Wyatt years before. You had him job out to Goldberg so you can have Goldberg fight someone else. What a load of crap. One of the more recent ones that actually really bugs me, and I didn't know this, was that when Daniel Bryan years ago was forced to retire, which actually upset me quite a lot back then because of how talented he was and how much the fans really got him there. It was the fact that he was made to retire while staying under contract because he lied about concussions. To the point the WWE themselves had to test him after every single contest until the moment he left. There was a rather lengthy statement about this. Some people mentioned Roman Reigns. I have no idea why. Within the statement itself, it doesn't reference him once. I got the WWE were trying to push Roman Reigns though, so I got the point. But in reality, when Daniel Bryan spoke about it as if he himself was a victim, no, he was 100% in the wrong. And I'm not going to lie, that really hurt. Because many people drew the same conclusion, and they were worried that because he lied, had it not been caught, had he not been tested or made to do what he did to get back, people were worried he could have become another Chris Benoit. And of course, no one should be saying that. But that is what many people did say, and understandably so. So to the final subject. This one's, I was going to do AEW, but I decided against it. We're going to talk about Jon Jones. I know, we spoke about him last week. Well, he's back. But it's not because of anything he did, per se. During a press conference for Dana White's Contender series on ESPN, Dana White explained why the UFC had released Luis Pena. Luis Pena was released following 2 arrests related to domestic violence. Now, how does this tie into Jon Jones? Or during that, Dana White was asked about Jon Jones as well then, because these arrests are allegations and nothing has come of them yet. The same applies to Jon Jones. And while I can't play the clip, I can summarize what Dana White said with, well, and that's about it. That's it. Does Luis Pena deserve to go? That's up to you to decide. If he's actually found guilty of the crimes he committed, sayonara. Jon Jones has had many chances within mixed martial arts and has screwed up every single time. Yet he is still there. Now granted, he is currently going through a pay dispute. So how do you punish him best? You keep him under contract forever. Because if he can't fight or go fight somewhere else to make his money, there's the punishment. Should that not apply to Luis Pena as well? Who knows? But it was a comment someone had suggested, and I do find it fascinating. Now with this, with all the subjects we've covered today, I'd like to know what you all think. So please do let me know in the comments down below. If I don't see you tonight for a political recap on the Moisky Live Politics YouTube channel, 9:30 PM GMT, I hope you'll have a fantastic Friday and subsequent weekend. And thank you all very much for listening.